The first thing Mara noticed about the luminous Crown Hotel was what it refused to show. Its foyer marble pillars, brass register desk, a chandelier pulsing like a captive sun looked exactly like the photographs on the booking website. Yet between those pillars hung mirrors that returned no reflection, and the chandelier's bulbs grew brighter every time somebody sighed. Guests recognized the strangeness and quickly resolved to ignore it. Luggage wheels squeaked toward rooms, concealing unease with polite chatter. Mara arrived just before midnight, breathless from her sprint through the storm. She took the keycard from the night clerk, a woman whose eyes sparkled as if remembering a secret joke. The clerk advised overhead that the elevators were temperamental. Mara nodded, suppressing a shiver that had nothing to do with the rain soaking her collar. In the elevator, soft brass music drifted through hidden speakers. A paneled wall displayed the usual ascending numbers 1, 2, 3, up to 16. There was no basement button. Mara pressed 14, the floor assigned to her. The doors slid shut. With a thump, the elevator lurched downward. The illumination in the ceiling panels shifted from yellow warmth to the dim indigo of twilight. Floor indicator bulbs flickered and rearranged themselves. And the red LED spelled 0. Then, impossibly, 1. Mara frowned, searching for an emergency call button. She imagined electrical error, but the descent felt deliberate, guided. The doors parted. A corridor, tilde to 1 tilde, revealed itself. The carpet was velvet, the color of dusk. Wall sconces glimmered with dying light. Doors stretched infinitely in both directions, each cracked open just enough to whisper traitorous possibilities. Come in, remember. Mara? A voice, thin as dust, spoke her name directly. She froze, mouth drying. Nobody knows me here, she thought. She jabbed the closed door button. The elevator complied, groaning upward toward the lobby. When the doors reopened, the foyer appeared normal again, though all conversation had stilled. No attendant waited. The desk was empty. She might have bolted out into the storm, but her suitcase remained inside the elevator. Moreover, the corridors behind her now hummed with a hush that dared her to run, to prove cowardice. She exhaled shakily, pressed 14 again. This time the elevator rose, 9, 10, 11, and stopped gently at 14. Hallway lights were steady, wallpaper cheerful. She found her room and slept fitfully. But the negative floor had recognized her. Once an entrance appears, it will not abandon its invitation. Morning arrived like a half-finished apology. Mara dressed, attended a conference, smiled through networking small talk. Yet any reflective surface teased her with glimpses of a corridor lined by doors whose numbers began with minus signs. That night she returned to the luminous Crown, dreading the elevator yet compelled. When she stepped in, a man in a charcoal suit followed. He was tall, handsome in a brittle way, with brittle eyes that kept toward the floor. As the doors closed, she examined the panel. Alongside familiar buttons, silver ovals had bloomed in the negative margin. 1, 2, 3. She couldn't remember seeing them the night before, but there they were, matte metal with no backlight. The man reached across her, pressed 2 without hesitation. "Excuse me," Mara blurted. He acknowledged her with a nod that said, "You know why I'm going." But she didn't. Or did not want to. The elevator obeyed. The music disintegrated into static. The ceiling's luminescence bled into a deeper indigo. Mara's pulse flickered inside her ears. The doors opened onto 2. A smell of pond water and overturned soil rolled in. The corridor carpeting had dissolved into moist grass. A single fluorescent tube overhead buzzed in agony. On one door hung a laminated workplace ID. Oliver Lang, senior accountant. The man in the charcoal suit straightened his lapels and stepped out. "Good luck," Mara whispered before she could stop herself. He didn't seem to hear as the doors slipped shut. The elevator rose by itself. She pressed no button, yet it stopped at the lobby. The moment the doors parted, she nearly sprinted out, but the concierge blocked her path. A reed-thin woman in uniform, eyes glimmering gold. She smiled with feigned warmth. "The service elevator may better suit you, Miss Ingram," she said. "How do you—" "It runs only to positive floors." Her smile twitched. "But you're welcome to keep using the guest cars, of course. Some visitors find private reflection restorative." Mara's legs turned to liquid. "What is this?" "I didn't pay for therapy." "All fees are included," the concierge said. "Your key knows which memories you forfeited. The negative levels exist, so housekeeping doesn't have to." "What does that mean?" The concierge merely inclined her head. Somewhere, an antique clock chimed 13 times. Over the next day and a half, rumors drifted through conference halls. A delegate hadn't shown for breakfast. Housekeeping found his bed unslept, luggage untouched. They shrugged, blaming hangovers and early flights. But Mara knew where Oliver Lang had gone. He had entered his personal oubliette on floor 2, and the elevator hadn't returned. She thought of reporting it, then remembered the concierge's eyes and lost courage. That evening she fortified herself with 2 glasses of Merlot at the bar. When the pianist began a minor key waltz she could not name, she excused herself. The elevator awaited like a confession booth. Inside, the negative buttons now extended to 35. She felt sure there would be further levels by the time dawn arrived. Bing. A conversation from childhood blossomed in her memory. "If you seal a feeling away," her father had said, "you don't erase it, you relocate it, and places can be excavated." In her life, Mara had sealed many feelings. Creditors swept with the sands of distraction. One in particular she avoided, a choice made 5 winters ago on a mountain road, the last time she'd seen her sister alive. She knew where the elevator intended to take her. With a trembling finger she pressed -3. Floor 3 exhaled a draft as cold as morgue air. She stepped onto linoleum tile slick with melted snow that kept reforming. Fluorescent lights above flickered. Here the corridor had only one door, painted the red of fresh wounds. Above the knob hung a Polaroid pinned by a tack. Mara at 27, laughing with her sister Ava at the summit of Mount Helicon, ski helmets crooked atop messy hair. Ava's smile, always whiter than the horizon. Below the photo, a handwritten sign. "In case of memory leak, wipe immediately." Mara's breath shallowed. She reached for the knob. It was glacial. When she opened the door, no room lay beyond, only the interior of her car on that mountain road, recreated like a painstaking diorama. Faux leather seats, dashboard lights glowing. Outside the windshield, a swirl of snow obscured plunging cliffs. The passenger seat was empty, but a diagonal smear of blood stained the headrest where Ava's skull had struck. Mara knew the blood had come after she'd swerved away from a deer, after she'd overcorrected, after the vehicle kissed black ice and pirouetted into havoc. The real accident happened at dusk, but this scene was lit by that same indigo twilight the elevator loved, an eternal pre-dawn where regrets never clear. She squeezed her eyes shut. The memory car smelled of pine and gasoline. A voice whispered from the passenger seat, though it held no body. "You promised you'd drive carefully." Her knees buckled. She hit the frozen asphalt of the diorama's road, though moments earlier she'd stood on hotel linoleum. She screamed, but snow swallowed sound. Her limbs numbed. Time was waterlogged in this place. It would drown her slowly, letting her watch. But something, perhaps the concierge's taunt about housekeeping, jolted her. "You are not a guest here. You are housekeeping. It is your job to clean." She yanked the driver's door handle. Resistance vanished. She tumbled backward across a threshold of ringing elevator chimes. The scene collapsed behind her into a gust of cold that whisked along corridors before vanishing. Mara lay on the hallway carpet of 3, sobbing. When she looked again, the red door had disappeared. Only blank wallpaper remained. A thought occurred. Each floor was a slab of shared real estate, subdivided into memory rooms. When a guest braved hers, the room might dissolve, sparing hallway square footage for another. Housekeeping didn't have to scrub stains. Facing them scrubbed them. She crawled back to the elevator, pressed the lobby. The car ascended. She slept that night without dreams. Merely an echo of Ava's voice that never formed a sentence. At breakfast, news broke. 2 more attendees were missing. A rumor fluttered about locked bathroom stalls and cigar smoke curling under doors. Mara kept silent. She recognized their names from the elevator's negative floors list, though she'd never seen them step inside. She realized then, people may vanish whether or not somebody bears witness. The hotel offered the elevator. The rest was self-selection. Yet some might drown, unable to surface after confronting what waited. She located the concierge beside an arrangement of blood-red roses. "People disappear here." "They were already missing," the woman answered. "The hotel merely catalogs absence." "I survived 3, Mara said. "I'm not finished." The concierge studied her, then pressed a brass token into Mara's palm. A small key etched with double-headed arrows, forward and back. "For when the usual buttons no longer suffice," she whispered. Mara clutched it. The key felt warm. That night, storms pummeled the city like fists full of nails. Thunder rumbled through windows. Mara, in pajama pants and an overlarge sweater, rode the elevator alone. The panel now displayed negative floors down to 8. She pressed 4. Yet the car kept descending past that, LED flashing, error, then stabilizing at -6. Her stomach played comet physics. When the doors opened, she found herself inside a banquet hall dripping with chandeliers of salt crystals, floor flooded ankle-deep in black water reflecting swirling galaxies. A waltz played, the same tune the bar pianist favored, only here searing violins replaced the soft piano. Shadows waltzed across distant parts of the hall. Couples made of silhouette and void, dancing with mechanical grace. None had faces. Each time a pair rotated, Mara glimpsed a flicker of her own features in one partner, the features of former lovers in the other. Men and women, smiles or frowns, repeating on every spin, as though the same argument replayed through a hall of mirrors. She trudged forward, water rippling around calves. With each step, an invisible metronome ticked louder, urging tempo. When she passed near a shadow couple, she discerned murmured lines, "I'm sorry, I need different things. No, I can change, I swear. Why don't you love me enough to stay?" These were not merely echoes from her past, but from many hearts, layered like translucent slides, a chorus of breakups and betrayals. She saw a door on the far side, islanded by water. Its plaque read, "Exit if you've finished dancing." She understood. This floor belonged collectively to people whose relationships had curdled. If she lingered, she'd join the endless ballroom rotation, dancing with intangible regrets until her face blurred like theirs. She splashed toward the exit, heart hammering, but the water thickened into tar, sucking at her legs. "Remember every broken promise," the hall hissed. "Remember every broken promise," the hall hissed. "They're yours." "I remember," she cried, "but I'm done dancing." She hurled the brass key forward like a dart. It struck the door's lock, which clicked open. The tar inverted into ripples of clear water. Gravity relinquished its hold. She waited free, seized the key, and slammed the door behind her. When she turned, she stood back in the elevator. Paint was peeling. The main panel had gone dark, leaving only a keyhole glowing faintly. She inserted the concierge's key, and the lights revived. Now she could descend or ascend at will. She felt less burdened, as though the ballroom's sticky grief had sloughed from her. But the elevator was still plummeting, for her, for everyone. She needed to understand its end. By dawn, coffee in hand, she returned, determined to uncover the hotel's foundation or abyss. She pressed 9. The elevator accepted, jerking downward. Numbers scrolled. -7, -8, -9, 10. She hadn't asked for 10. Past a certain depth, requests no longer mattered. The doors opened to utter dark. The car's interior light dared not step beyond the threshold. She placed a shoe forward. Something like crushed moth wings coated the floor. She heard breathing, many people breathing in the dark, yet none moving. She raised her phone flashlight. At once, dozens of faces blazed into view. Guests half submerged in walls, ceilings, even floor, as if the hotel had swallowed them mid-scream. Her eyes tracked her. One mouth opened, releasing a gust of stale wind that carried words. We wouldn't look. Recognition flooded Mara. These were the lost, the ones who'd refused to face any memory room. The hotel offering mercy had kept them instead, pinned like insects in amber halls, forever dependent on new arrivals to hear their confession. She scanned them. Among them, Oliver Lang, hunched chest-deep in plaster, tie floating like seaweed. When he saw her, a pleading expression contorted his features. "What do you need?" she asked, voice trembling. "Show her," they chorused. The corridor rearranged. A door extruded from blank wall like a blister. Its plaque, 2B. She understood. Oliver's memory room still remained. He hadn't reached it. If she could open it for him, maybe walls would release him. She tested the handle. Locked. She inserted the brass key. The door yawned. Inside, a suburban living room smelling of brandy and despair, a father shouting while a child in footy pajamas cowered behind a sofa. Mara signaled Oliver. He could not walk, pinned, but tears leaked from him. "I will witness it for you," she said. He nodded. She stepped inside. The room surged alive. The father hurled a glass, shattering a picture frame. Spittle flew, fists clenched. The child's wide eyes begged someone, anyone, to intervene. Mara intervened. She marched between father and child, though they couldn't see her, yet her presence warped the scene. The glass slowed to a drift. The father's face slackened. Time quivered like soap film. She picked up the shattered photograph, little Oliver at a piano recital. Carefully, she replaced it on the mantel. "Enough," she whispered, words resonant as gongs. A hush spread. When she turned, the living room was gone. She stood outside the elevator, again. Down the hall, walls liquefied, releasing pinned guests. They slumped to their knees in relief, color returning to cheeks. Oliver emerged, breathing raggedly. He met her gaze. "Thank you," he croaked, and dissolved into motes of light that drifted upward into darkness. Others followed, each transmuting into sparks, ascending shafts, invisible. She watched until the last light winked out. The corridor was empty now, floor unmarked. Back in the elevator, she viewed the panel. All negative numbers, dimmed except one. The hotel had emptied itself of repressed cargo. Only her own earliest memory remained. She recalled nothing before age 7 except a crooked painting and a lullaby sung by a mother she scarcely remembered. The elevator awaited her choice. She pressed 1. When the doors parted, she stood inside a nursery smelling of talcum and lilacs. The nightlight, shaped like a moon, glowed soft amber. Walls were papered with hot air balloons. In a cradle lay a toddler herself, gazing up at an unseen point. Beside the crib, a woman with tired eyes hummed a lullaby. Mara's breath hitched. She had not heard her mother sing since the accident that claimed the woman when Mara was barely 3. She moved closer. The mother's voice wavered on a note, cracked, stopped. Tears ran down her face. She gripped the crib rail, reservoir of exhaustion and fear. Through cracked voice she whispered, "I can't do this alone." She was alone. Mara's father had already left, unable to cope. The lullaby was breaking because the singer was breaking. Mara approached until her footsteps brushed dust. She wanted to touch her mother, say, "I am here now, grown, safe." But that did not seem the task. The task was to watch, to witness, so somebody besides a lonely woman knew she had fought to be enough. She knelt. "You did it," she whispered, though the woman could not hear. "I'm alive. I made it. Thank you." The mother resumed humming, voice steadier, as if hearing some faint echo of reassurance. She lifted the toddler, pressing nose to downy hair, rocking side to side in time with the indigo silence. Mara's field of vision blurred with tears. Behind her, the elevator chimed. She turned and saw no corridor, only the shaft ascending into radiance. She stepped backward into the car. Doors closed gently. The negative buttons vanished. A single button glowed. L. Lobby. She pressed it. The ride felt effortless. When the doors finally opened, morning sunlight poured through tall foyer windows. Guests checked out, employees bustled, and the concierge waited. Mara hesitated. What happens now? Checkout is simple, the concierge said. You carry your memories where they belong, in daylight rather than dungeon. If you lose them again, well, the hotel will call. She winked. But I suspect we won't see you soon. Mara nodded. She strode across the marble toward revolving doors. Outside, rain had stopped. Streets were wet and honest. She inhaled petrichor, feeling lungs spacious. Her phone buzzed, a message from Ava's old number, deactivated years ago. She braced for haunting text. Instead, the screen displayed only a blank message, as if the universe had pocket-dialed her to say hello. She smiled, slipped the device away, and hailed a cab. As it pulled from the curb, she glanced back at the luminous crown. For an instant she swore she saw balconies rising above the roof, negative stories reversed into positive height, ascending like new possibility. Then the hotel was merely brick and glass, reflecting morning traffic. She faced forward, toward ordinary streets, alive with limitless floors numbered in hope, and instructed the driver to take her anywhere. Breakfast was served on the ground.